Hi, my name is Jack from True Dead Fraud, and I want to show you how to use the Design and Motion Char kit Tine. After you download and unzip the VideoHive file, you will get this folder. The structure of the folder is as follows. The first folder is where you will find the main project and some extra project that I will explain to you later. In this folder, there are some files that were used to create the structure of this project. You don't need to use these files. The references folder is where you will understand what content you can use in this package. In the animation folder, there are some guides. The accessory folder is where you will find all the available accessories, and the same for the character folder. The texture folder is where you will import the characters and the accessories that you need to use in your project. This folder is where the tutorials are located. The project you will need use initially is the Design and Motion Tine.aep. When you open the project, you will probably get this warning. This is because this project was saved in an older version of After Effects, so that project is compatible with all versions of the After Effects CC. Initially, you will find a welcome screen. To navigate around it, use the page down button. Read carefully because this tour will give you a good idea on how to use this template. In this folder, you will have all the actions of your character. I will explain more details when we talk about animations. In this place, you will create your character. You have place to put textures for the left and the right accessory hand. There are also some folders for you to save your texture. There is also an utility for you to create transitions between characters. Here in the folder 2 are all the modules available for you to use in your animations. These are ready-made animations that connect to each other in a way that I will describe in detail later. Finally, you have an empty composition for you to click and drop out these modules and create your animation. These are system folders. You will not need to touch them unless you want to explore how this template was developed, which can be very interesting. The first step for you to start your animation is choose which character you want to use. To do this, we will use the references folder, because here you have the reference of all the characters available in the kit. To choose one of the characters, you will need to use this code here, Chartine26. That's the policeman. It is the number that I will use to import the texture into the After Effects. So I will click to import, and inside the texture folder I will locate the character 26. Clicking on it, I will import the character. It's important to import it as footage. To apply it, you need to open the character creation folder and drag the texture into this composition, which is the character texture composition. By default, the texture of the boy will be already applied here, so you must delete it and leave only the texture of the policeman. When you go into the composition of the animations, you will notice that all animations are already applied to the policeman. The Design and Motion Char kit Tine has an innovation that is the shading mode. You can have the character totally flat, as you see here, or you can have the character shaded. To do this, you just need to click on the character animations composition, and in the first layer, character setup, in the effects panel, there is the shading option. To create or adapt your character, you have two ways. You can do it directly in the After Effects using the character texture composition, or you can do it in your favorite drawing software. I will start explaining how to do this in the After Effects. The first step is to open the character texture composition, but for this I will give you a hint. Click here on the composition name and select New Composition Viewer. Everything that you create in the character texture composition will automatically be seen in the final character. Let me explain to you now the different drawing areas that you have in the character texture composition. Notice that here in the composition there are some gray areas that are the place where you should draw. I will explain to you what each of these areas are for and how you will use them as guides to know how the drawing should be done. There are two types of areas, a lighter gray area and a darker gray area. This is because our character rotates. When he is facing forward, we can see a part of the texture. When he is sideways, the texture slides inside his body, so we can see other details of the texture. This is why the texture composition is organized in this way. What you draw inside this gray area is what appears when he is facing you. What you draw inside the dark gray area is what will appear when the character is sideways. Let me explain to you what each one of these spaces are for. As you can see, I have written the texture of the policeman and I will draw a new character to explain each one of these spaces. This part represents each of the fits. As I am drawing, you can see how the character is building here in the side. I'm going to do it very simple. It will be just a two-color shoes. This version is for the legs. You can create as many details as you want. I will do it very simple to understand how the creation or adaptation of character works. This region is for drawing the body. I will draw the upper part of the paint here, and at the top I will put an orange rectangle that will represent the shirt. This is clearly the space for the arms and the fingers. I will draw a detail of the shirt to represent the sleeves of the character. And the rest will be the arms and the fingers. I will choose a skin tone to represent them. In this part, we have the head and the ears. The head is divided into a few layers. This layer is masked by the face area, so what you draw here will be limited by a rounded shape. You won't be able to make silhouette details here, but there are other layers for this purpose. This layer is a kind of head foreground. This is the one in the front of the face, so you can do details like a tooth, for example. If you are drawing directly in the After Effects, you can use all the drawing tools in the software. In this case, I will disable the fill and create a thicker border to create this hair detail, using the round cap to make the corners round. I will make the hair yellow. Okay, the character is not looking very attractive, but it's just to show you how the template works. You are going to use the second layer to draw details that will go beyond the silhouette of the head, but it will stay in the same depth of the head. I will draw some hair here to illustrate what I'm saying to you. As you can see, sometimes it's necessary to draw some hair details in this part of the head to create some integration between the other hairs that I draw in the other layer. It's important to see that there are two layers that serves as a guide for you when you are drawing. I recommend you to create your content between these two layers. This way it will be easy to understand where exactly you should draw. I will draw a detail here to better integrate the hair. Look here how it works. The last layer of the head is usually used to create details that go behind the character's head. If a girl have a long hair, for example, you will do it here. I will do some hair details here to show you how it works. The difference between each one of these spaces is basically the depth. As you can see, when you move the head around, each of the layers of the head will have a kind of a parallax, giving us the illusion of depth. We also have these spaces to draw the ears. I'm going to draw the ear here in these two regions. The darker part is where the ear will be masked by the head. This whole area is where you can draw the ears and accessories like earrings and that sort of thing. So I will draw two circular ears here. Here in the left, you have a region to draw all the mouth, eyes, and different facial expressions of your character. In each slot, you are going to put a different facial expression. Later on, you will use these controllers to animate it. In this case, I'm not going to draw every single expression. I'm going to import it from another character that already exists, the policeman. I'm going to take the texture of the policeman and I'm going to mask just the mouth and the eyes. I wanted to do this in this way to demonstrate to you how you can use parts from other characters to build your own. Okay, it's not good. I will take the mouth and the eyes from another character to make this one a little better. Yeah, it looks a little better now. We have 4 spaces that are very important and give you a lot of flexibility when it comes to creating your characters. This bottom left space is mainly used to draw skirts, for example. What you draw down here will extrapolate the silhouette of the character's body. You can see it's happening now. This space is mainly used to create skirts or jackets that are wider than the character's body. The upper left space is used to create accessories that will extrapolate the silhouette of the body. In this case of the policeman, for example, he wears a radio and a bag in his belt. These objects are drawn in this quadrant. In this way, the objects are outside the silhouette of the body. The upper right space is used if you want to extend the clothing over the legs. For example, if you want to create a jacket or a coat that extends over the character's leg. I will create here to you see the extension of this shirt. As you can see, in the upper part, it respects the limits of the body, but in the bottom part of this element, it exceeds the normal silhouette of the body. This last quadrant will be used to make details that are on the back of the character. For example, a tail or a backpack or accessories. In our character, I will draw a tail for you to understand how this region can be used. These are all the regions that you will use to create or adapt your character. The other option that you have is to use your favorite software. For this, you can use some of the guides that I created to help you. Inside the texture folder, you will have a folder called Character Guides. Here we have a guide for Photoshop, a guide for Illustrator, and a PNG version that you can use in your favorite illustration software. I created all my texture in Illustrator. I will open up the Illustrator guide to show you how it is organized. Just as in the After Effects, I organized the character texture guide into 3 layers. The top guide is just the stroke without the fill, so you can see how far you can draw. The bottom guide with the darker and lighter gray zones will help you to understand where to draw. You will make your drawing here in the middle layer called Character Textures. I will save this texture. Then, when I import it, I will choose just the character texture layer. And I will choose the option Document Size. In that way, when I use this texture, it will be very similar to what we did before, because I will split the screen, and in one side we will have the After Effects, and the other side we will have the Illustrator. And everything that I draw in the Illustrator and save will be automatically sent to the After Effects. I will draw something here so you will understand. Choosing accessories for the character to use in the hands is very similar to choose characters. The first thing that you should do is go into the reference folder and then enter in the accessories folder. Here you will have a picture representing each of the available accessories. You will use the accessory number to locate it in the texture folder. In the case of this gun, its number is 31. So you click to import a new file. Now just drop it in one of the accessory texture composition. It can be the left hand or the right hand, depending on what you want to do. Just by doing this, your character will already have an accessory in hand. In the case of the accessories, you have the option to extrude them. Let me explain you how it works. I will import a larger object to make it easier to understand. As you can see here, this object has a little bit of depth. The template itself that creates this depth. You can edit this depth. You just need to come here in the first layer on the character animation composition, and in the effect panel you will find these accessories options. The first option is automatic. When it's active, it means that the project is fetching the depth information from the accessory texture file. If you disable this option, you can choose the depth. When this value is 0, it leaves the texture completely depthless and the accessory will always be facing the camera. We will not have any perspective on it. But as you increase this value, the object will get its perspective from the hand in which it is, and you will be able to increase the depth as you need. If you want to adapt or create a new accessory, it can be done in the same way that you has done with the character itself. That is, you can draw directly here in the After Effects in the texture composition, or you can use one of the guide files that I made for you that is in the texture, accessories and guide folder. As in the case of the character texture, you will have a guide for Illustrator, another for Photoshop, and a PNG file that you can import in your favorite drawing software. This black square is for telling the After Effects how deep this object should be. To edit the depth of this object in this texture file, you will need to do the following. First, re-enable the automatic mode in the After Effects. Now let me open this texture in the Illustrator to show you how it works. As you modify the gray tone or the brightness value, you define how big the extrusion of the object will be. 100% brightness or pure white color will mean that the object will have the maximum extrusion allowed in this project. If the square is black or has a brightness of 0, there will be no extrusion at all in this accessory. You can choose any value between 0 and 100, and it will tell After Effects what is the desired depth of this object.